وبعدين كده again.
All right, can you go over it for me?
وبعدين كده again. TT and
All right, so what's TT?
teacher.
All right, what does that tell me what that involves?
To model, like we have the context, the context.
But what is the teacher doing then?
Teacher. The context, what she's gonna teach, right? The model.
Yeah, but what is the teacher doing in that instance? When the teacher is doing teacher, what exactly is the teacher doing?
Modeling.
Modeling, exactly.
Mm.
Modeling. And who's she modeling to?
The students.
Well, herself, right? Or
Oh.
himself,
Okay.
right? So basically the teacher is talking to themselves and the students are doing what?
Just observing her.
Observing. Students are observing. Okay. Then after teacher, you have what?
Again, sorry.
After teacher, it was next.
Next, the teacher student.
Teacher, student.
The teacher is gonna ask one student to do the same.
Yes. Right? The teacher gives an input, and then the student does what?
Do the same.
Responds. The student responds, right? And then after that?
Let's give me 1 minute observing. Okay. Teacher is the student. Observe. Okay. After that, it's ST. The student to the teacher.
All right, what happens?
The student will ask the teacher.
Yeah. And the teacher does what?
Observing.
No, the teacher responds.
Respond?
The teacher responds.
Oh, yes,
right?
he will respond, right.
And then what happens after next?
SS.
All right, what's going on there?
The student to student. The student will ask each other.
Yes.
Then
So
SS.
One student gives the input,
One
and then
student.
another
One-to-one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
SS.
What I'm trying to get you, the reason why I'm going over it like this is I want you to demonstrate that you can give clear instructions.
Okay.
And make clear explanations. So the teacher, the student gives an input, and then another student responds, right, to that input. What's after student?
The last one, SS. Group.
Right,
Group A with a group B, like this. Right?
And what's going on there?
They will ask each other, or the whole group will ask this. Then the next.
Who's leading, and who's leading that? Who's leading that part of the instruction?
The teacher.
The teacher. So the teacher is doing what?
She will organize the situation. She will tell group A. Yes, ask group B. Yes.
So she gives instructions.
Yes, the teacher will give instructions.
Manages. And what are the students doing?
They will ask each other, and the next group will respond. Right?
Right. Yeah. So one group gives the input, and then the next group gives the output. And then after that, what happens?
Yes.
After that, what happens?
After that, we move to the lesson plan.
No.
Yeah.
No, then the teacher asks them to do what? to switch, right?
Ah, to switch. Oh,
And then the second group gives the input, and the first group responds, right?
this one, yes.
All right. So guess what you're going to do right now? You know what you're about to do?
Today, you mean?
Yeah, right now. You know what you're going to do?
What we are gonna do? We'll complete
You're going to do the whole. You're going to do the whole paradigm right now, just like I did it.
Ah, really? Again, I will repeat it to you.
No, you're going to show me just like I showed you.
Okay. Ah, what do you do? What do you
What do
do?
you do for
Oh,
exercise?
yeah. Do you want me to
All right.
stand up?
Yep. Same way I did it.
Okay.
Same way.
I will start like this, yes. What do you do for exercise? I run. 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 Okay. This is the modeling TT. Then, what do you do for exercise?
I run.
Yes. Okay. Then we have two students with each other. What do you do for
No,
exercise?
no. You
Yes.
skip one.
Sorry?
You skip one.
Uh, skip what?
You skipped a step.
One step?
You skipped a step. Yep.
Yes, a
You did.
student.
You did teachers. You did teacher student.
I did teacher.
You did teacher teacher. You did teacher student. What's
Okay.
next?
Student to student.
No.
ST, student to teacher.
Student teacher. That's how
Okay.
you do that.
What do you do for exercise?
No.
What?
No. What did I do that day? You remember when I showed you?
You didn't talk. You said,
Yes. What do you do for exercise? What do you do for exercise?
oh, yes. I run.
Now, okay, what's next?
Now, the last one, S.
Mhm.
Yeah. I will ask group A to, I will tell group A to ask group B. Okay.
No, no, that's not how I did it. That's
How?
not how did I do it? Do you remember what I did?
I'm trying to remember.
Remember, look,
Group A.
A, B, A, B, A, B, A. A's right here, B's right here. A's, what do you do for exercise? B's, I run.
I run. Okay.
Start.
Now, we do AB. Okay.
Remember?
Yes, yes.
All right, go ahead. No, you gotta show me.
What?
You gotta show me.
Okay. Okay.
Show me.
I want A, ask B, then A.
No, no, no.
How I need to give
A,
you
B,
instructions.
A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A's. All the A's right here. All the B's right here. A's, what do you do for exercise? B's, I run. Start on my whistle. Whistle like this.
Oh, okay. Type
Do you
A.
get it?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay,
I
go ahead,
get.
show me. Show
Okay.
me.
A, B, A, B. A, what do you do for exercise? B, I run. What do you do for exercise? B, I run. After three, 1, 2, 3, you have to start like this.
Yeah. So A's, what do you do for exercise? B's, I
B,
run.
I
When I
run.
start my whistle, you begin.
Mm.
Whistle or your hand clap or whatever it's going to get them to start. And
Okay.
then easy. Sorry.
Okay.
Uh That's what gets them to start. Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's important that that may sound silly, but given instructions,
No, actually, I have to give lower grades instructions always.
yeah, you got to give them clear,
Clear instructions.
concise
Yeah.
instruction. We call it routines. Learners, learners and students,
Mm,
they must have routines. They need to know. Sometimes we devalue routines. They need to know what's going on. And if you have routines in your class, they can get their minds, their brains.
yeah.
Okay, she's about to do this because you have routine in your class. That's why routines are very important because what it does, remember we talked about the RES and the amygdala. If the RES knows the routine, then they feel more comfortable and you
Calm. Yeah.
lower the
Happy.
effective filter.
Yes. The entire
Right?
knowledge.
If
Yeah.
if you break the routine, right, then they're like, "What's going on? What's going on?"
They will be
Huh?
afraid. Yeah. Okay.
And you're increasing their effective filter
Mm,
because they're trying to figure out exactly what's going on. It's almost like when um, class is starting. It's like almost like when class is starting and then a new teacher walks in, or a teacher who's not the regular teacher. The students go, "Where's Miss? Where's Miss? Huh? What's going on?" Right? You put them in a situation that breaks the routine. All
yeah.
right, we don't want to do that. Where's my little thing? We don't want to. We definitely don't want to do that.
Okay.
Okay. We
Inshallah.
don't. We want to. It's important in any scenario, whether it's an ESL scenario or a regular teaching classroom scenario, that their routines. Even when you talk about adults, teaching adults, which there's a different teaching theory when we teach adults, right? But even for adults, routines are very important, extremely important, because it's a human thing. We do it this way. This is the way we do it, and you don't want to break those routines because what it does is it increases the effective filter,
Mm,
right? And we don't want to do that. That's the last thing that we want to do. We want to decrease the effective filter. All right.
yes.
Uh, today. What I want to do is talk about some of the core competencies. Some of the core competencies. Okay.
Okay. What is it?
Um, what do you think what a core competency is in teaching?
Cool. But give me again, please, the
Core
spelling.
competence. Core competency. C O
Core.
R E.
Oh,
C
okay.
O R E.
Yeah.
Competency. COMPETENCY. What are the core competencies? Or what are core competencies?
Eh,
What are core competencies?
Related to the
Have you
curriculum?
have you ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that term before?
No.
Core competencies. Have you ever heard of that term before?
No.
All right. So core competencies are the skills that learners acquire during a course. And these skills help the learners do what? Solve real life problems.
Again, please. Are skills that learners acquire
Skills
in
that learners acquire in a course or in a block of instruction, but let's say in the course. So
the.
when we're mapping out, when this goes back to the first or second conversation that we had, when we're mapping out at the beginning of the year or as a new course or whatever the case may be, we're looking at the course as this course is going to solve a student's problems or learner's problem or problems that they have. Okay. That's how anytime you teach anything, the only reason you're teaching it is because we identify that the student has a problem, and
Yes.
this course, this block of instruction is a solution to their problem. Huh?
Yes.
Anybody ever pose that to you?
No.
Has anyone ever posed that to you?
No.
No. That's the reason why we have problems with teaching and learning. That's one big reason why we have problems with teaching and learning. Is because we start off wrong. In the Takem had a professional development session, education conference online. I think what, last week or 2 weeks ago? Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yes. Yeah, I think I didn't attend
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was one of the speakers.
Well, really?
And what my talk was about, and what I have been talking about for the last 20 years, is this very thing that I'm talking to you about today. Okay, it's the very thing that I'm talking to you about today, and that is this idea of what I call good meat mixes on gravy, right? When you get when you get some good meat, you buy some good meat, a good block of beef, good lamb. That meat will make its own gravy, its own salt, own juice, right? That makes the meal more flavorful. Would you agree that meat can make its own juice, its own gravy?
Yeah.
Yeah, good meat. Good meat can make its own gravy.
Yes.
But the problem is you have to start off with good meat. And this is where we often fail in teaching and learning, is that we look at courses where we look at school, and then people who build schools and principals who start schools, they look at the school the wrong way. They look at schools as, oh, this is opportunity to make money, or this is this is a place where students have to go, young people or old people have to go through this process and pass these tests so they can go and get a job, right? This is how we tend, but that's the wrong way to look at learning. It's the wrong way to look at school. School is nothing more than a place that we send people to help them solve their problems.
Yes.
Right? So, number one, if you're at school, you have to determine what problems are you going to help the people solve. And you have to brand yourself as that school that helps people solve this type of problem. Okay, that's number one.
Or needs,
okay, right? Let's just don't even call it needs at this point. We'll deal with needs. You're right, but let's just call it problems. That keeps it even simpler. Okay. So we say this school will help specializes in these type of problems. This elementary school, this middle school, this high school, all right, this university, this college specialize in these type of problems. Okay, so the only people who should attend this school are people who believe they have these type of problems or will in the future face these type of problems. Okay. Now for elementary school and the middle school, it may be a little bit more easier because the problems that a 5-year-old will have tends to be all 5-year-olds tend to have similar problems.
Yes.
Right? All 7-year-olds tend to have similar problems, right? So, but nevertheless, that elementary school, that middle school still should say, hey, look, we are solving these type of problems because we also have cultural issues, right? We also have religious issues, right? We also have ethnic issues, right? Even as a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old, right? They still face these cultural, ethnic issues, maybe national issues, right? Okay, but that being said, the average 5-year-old to 13-year-old, 13-year-old, I'm kind of getting wonky there, has the same type of problems. I would argue maybe 5 to 9 or 5 to 8. I think once they get at the 8, they start to have individual problems, right? That's why in some countries, like in the United States, we used to have elementary, middle, junior high, because we recognize at some point in pedagogy that a middle schooler has a different type of problem than a junior high schooler, and a junior high schooler has a different type of problem than a high schooler. We used to recognize that. We moved away from junior high school in the United States for a very long time. Most states have. But I think the junior high school model supports what I'm telling you today, is that kids have problems, and a lot of those problems, most of those problems are age-based problems. And then the others are things, what I call natural problems. And then the other problems are nurture problems, religion, ethnicity, culture, things of this nature. But nevertheless, they're problems, and the schools must understand them as problems and create standards, or society or school create standards that measure those problems and say this is, and from those standards we come up with expected outcomes that tell us that the problem most likely is not solved. Let me rephrase that. That the learners are equipped to face those problems. Doesn't mean the problem solved.
Okay.
But the learners are more equipped to deal with those problems. In conjunction with what parents do, in conjunction of what society does, what the community does. Because you have to, once you realize you have the problem, you have to also know that you're not the sole solver of those problems. That's another big problem schools get into, that they become the problem solver. No, schools are just a resource to solve the problem. Okay. Now, that's on a macro level. On a micro level, the teacher gets a course. Okay, I'm the English teacher. Okay, what problems do my 3rd grade students face that I can help them, that I can help make them or help prepare them to be self-determined, self-regulative, self-efficient, right? Because at the end of the day, the learner or the student, depending on what's going on, has to be able to address the problem themselves. Okay. Now, what core competencies are the skills that we as educators have decided the learner needs to help them solve that problem, whether it's an immediate problem or a future problem. So
It's,
the English teacher says, okay, they need to know how to read. They need to know how to write.
yes,
They need to know how to listen properly, right? They need
mm.
to know how to communicate. They need to know how to critically think. They need to know how to aggregate data. They need to know how to collect data, right? They need to be able to build a vocabulary and then use that vocabulary meaningfully.
So it's core competency related to the skills that each student or a level need to learn.
The essential skills that they need to be able to do. Let's get away from learn, because we never know what learning really looks like. It goes back to the SMART that we talked about on Tuesday. So all we can do is measure the skill that suggests that the learner has learned it. It only suggests. So
To do.
instead of being concerned about what the student knows, we should be more concerned about what skills that
Yeah.
learners are able to do that will help them solve problems in the future or immediate problems. Because if we look at the skills will be what? Measurable. Can the student read out loud the passage? Can the student write a sentence that responds to the question? You can measure that.
Yes.
That can be measured. So what happens is when we look at it as problems, then we get out of this wonky subjective world of our feelings. Because a lot of times what happens is when you don't front load the problem, we then inject feelings. And then we have teachers who are not qualified to do certain things start to operate outside of their realm of expertise or their realm of knowledge. And this happens that happens every single time. And this is where teaching and learning gets a little weird. Because you hear teachers say, and I'm sure in your 10 years, I'm sure in your 10 years, you've heard this. You may have actually said this yourself. Teachers do everything, right? We are teachers. We are social workers. We're mommy. We're daddy.
Yes.
You've heard that. You've heard that. You heard that a lot. And every time I hear that, my brain goes nuts, because you're not. Like, that is what schools and teachers, because of our pride, because of our narcissism, we go, well, I can do everything. I'm the teacher, I'm the social worker, I'm the mommy, I'm the daddy, I'm the because it makes us feel good to say that. But the reality is we're not those things, because we can't do those things. Number one, you're not mommy and daddy because you're not mommy and daddy. You're not with that child 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And ultimately, you're not responsible for that child. That child gets sick, you're not the one going to the hospital with them, in most cases. You're calling mommy and daddy or uncle or grandma or granddad to come pick up that child, right? And at the end of the day, at the end of the school year, when that child moves on to the next grade, you're no longer there. You say bye, you take on the next group. So it's bad to say, I'm the mommy and the daddy. You're not the social worker because you didn't go to school for social work. You don't know the science behind social work. You're not the school psychologist or psychologist or educational psychologist because you didn't go to school for that. You're not certified. You're not certified in that. Right?
Mm.
What you are is your educator who has an expertise in learning transactions with learners. And now that covers, I would admit, that covers a lot. But as an educator, we know that we don't know. That's the one thing that we have to admit to. That we know that we don't know. Dr. Diane Lawson Freeman, students do not learn because we teach. Willis, what is learned is not necessarily what was learned is not necessarily what was taught.
Mm.
Teaching does not cause learning. So as an educator, we have to admit to the fact that we don't know. We have to admit to the fact that we have to admit to the fact that the worst student in your class right now may become the president of his country or her country, may become a brain surgeon,
Yeah.
may become a Nobel Peace person. The worst student, the student that you can't stand.
Yeah.
That student, every time you just on Saturday night, you go, I hope he doesn't come to school tomorrow. I hope he doesn't come to school tomorrow. I hope he doesn't come to school tomorrow. I hope he doesn't. I do not want to deal with this kid tomorrow. Right? That
Yes.
kid may become a Nobel Peace Prize winner, may become a Medal of Honor winner, may become a great person in society. And we have to admit to that. And that one kid that's always that you love, that you think is going to be a cardiologist one day, you think it's going to be a big time lawyer, it's going to be something great, may end up being infamous, may end up being a villain, maybe end up being a bad person, right?
Yeah.
Or not have the success. Because the reality is we can't dictate those things. We can't determine those things. Nothing that we do determines those things. I'm sure there are teachers who, if they, I'm sure I had a middle, especially middle school, because I was horrible in middle school. I'm sure there was some middle school teachers, if they saw me today, they were like, no way, you're not Raina Robbins, you're bad, you were so bad, you were so bad, right? Especially coming from where I came from, they were like, you a doctor? You got it, you. I'm sure of it, right? Because um, because we just don't know. Because life is chaotic. Life is chaotic, right? We simply just don't know what will happen.
Yes.
All we can do is help all learners prepare for the problems we perceive they will face. And we do it through these classes, these courses that they take. Right? That's our only job. Our only job is to help prepare learners for the problems that we perceive that they currently have and will have in the future. And like I said, it's elementary and middle school. They have it easy and they have it hard at the same time. Why? Because again, the younger you are globally, the kids tend to have the same problems, right? A 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old will tend to have the same problems, whether they're in America, Saudi Arabia, or Japan. But the older the learner gets, the more likely those problems become very specific and very unique. They're very distinctive. Okay. Because other things come in. Why? Because as they get older, they're going to gain more and more independence and more individuality. So that means high school teachers, middle school teachers, and high school teachers, they tend to have it more difficult because now they're addressing more specific. Well, they're having more difficult in that they are now have to, they're teaching, they're truly teaching individuals now because each one of those people are very different now. Whereas in kindergarten, they're different, but they're more alike than they are different. In high school, in the 10th grade, they're more different than they are alike, if that makes sense. So high school teachers, middle school teachers have it easy in that the kids are more independent, but then they have it harder because there are more problems to solve or more iterations of the problems to solve. So that's why we have what we call core competencies, right? We have core competencies because core competencies allow us to address problems through skills and not knowledge. Because knowledge is a very, very wonky, a very, very precarious thing to address and to try to um, offer someone. It's hard to offer someone knowledge. It's much easier to teach them a skill. The knowledge is what they will intrinsically or extrinsically, but it will happen internally, right? And knowledge is actually a synthesis, right? That often educators don't see. The students in your class right now, you don't really see the knowledge. We try to observe it, but you won't really see the knowledge because many of those learners may not synthesize the knowledge until after the school year, until next year, until the summertime. So you don't get a chance to see the knowledge. The only thing that you get the chance to see, sometimes we get a chance to see it, and it's a wonderful moment. But a lot of times, the only thing that we get to really observe is our skills.
Yes.
So, but you have schools, teachers, educators who are trying to teach knowledge and observe knowledge, something that is not ready yet, right? You can't cook a lamb in 10 minutes. A lamb takes time to cook, right? So what happens is we're looking at the students as, okay, I'm gonna throw it in, but it ain't ready yet. So we shouldn't be looking for that. Because the 180-year school day is maybe not enough time to observe knowledge acquisition. But it is enough time to observe skill acquisition. So under core competencies, we are saying we don't look at what the student learned. We don't ask that question. What did the student learn in the course, or what did they learn in the unit? Because what they learned, we can't really observe that. We don't have enough time to observe it. But we can look at and we can observe what skills they have acquired. What can they do? Right? So going back to what we talked about last Tuesday, we say, but teacher does, students do. Do, that do word. It's a powerful word. That do word is an extremely powerful word. Okay? So core competencies, they allow us to identify the key skills or the key category of skills that students should be able to do, which allow you to do what? Which allow you to write smart objectives. And we talked about SMART last week. So The S is what? The S is, what is the S in smart?
Smart. S means specific,
Specific. M,
achievable, measurable,
M, measurable,
measurable,
measurable.
uh,
A,
achievable,
R,
relative,
relevant. T,
relevant, sorry.
T,
Time.
timely. So we can only have smart objectives if we're looking at core competencies. But what happens is a lot of times we fall short of making smart objectives because we are trying to observe knowledge instead of skills. We have to know and believe that God will will allow them to gain knowledge. And that our only responsibility is to offer them skills, and through across curriculum and through life, right, they will be able to bleed over the skills that they learn in English class, that they learn in social studies, that they learn in math, that they learn in geography, that they learn in history. They'll be able to bleed those skills together to create a synthesis that is their knowledge.
طب who's gonna tell the educators or clarify for the educators what do the students needs or the skills that the student should do in each specific age? Really, I think if I learned this now from you, so I think the teachers should be well equipped, or they should know everything before they teach these.
If you were right, if I was in the same room with you right now, I would hug you, because that's the $1,000,000 question. So number one, teachers have to be, they have to go to teaching school. Okay. You have to have a knowledge of pedagogy or whoever you setting out to teach. Some pedagogy is different than higher education. Okay. So you have to have a knowledge of basic pedagogy. That means you should go to a teaching school and really learn pedagogy, or whatever. If you're going to go and be a professor, really learn what we call andragogy, right? So pedagogy and andragogy are different, right? So whatever group of learners you want to teach, you need to know the basic teaching theories. That's number one, which will allow you to know. You ever notice, like kindergarten, when teachers get certified in kindergarten, early childhood, they only stay in kindergarten because they master the art of early childhood development. So a kindergarten teacher stays a kindergarten teacher for 25, 30 years, and they master that because there's skills you get out of that. That's why I love kindergarten teachers, right? Kindergarten teachers tend to be more highly trained, and they stay in kindergarten from the start of their career to the end, right? Versus other type of teachers, they jump around middle school, high school, they just jump around, right?
Yes. Grade one
So
teacher, it's very important, lower grade. First grade also.
Yeah, first grade also. First grade also.
It took too much from me to understand what do they need in this age, actually. That's why I have been in grade one 10 years, 11 years. This is my 11th year.
So if you remember, that's why I said a couple of days ago, a couple of sessions ago, don't call yourself a teacher, because you're educated, you're a researcher, because you're trying to figure out what they learn. And the other thing you got to know is that each year of students have different wants, needs, and education, wants, needs, and expectations, because it changed by generation too. So what they need and the problems that they have are not the same. The problems that you had in the third grade are not the problems that your child has in the third grade.
Yeah.
Because they're generational. They're generational. She's of a different generation than you, right? She has more access to information than you ever had in the third grade. So our problems are not the same as your problems. Hold on a second.
Yes, you are right.
So this is one of the reasons, or probably the primary reason, that we don't look ourselves as teachers. We look at ourselves as researchers and educators. If you believe an educator is a researcher, and I believe an educator is a researcher. So we're looking at trends as educators and saying, okay, this group is slightly different than that group, which was slightly different than the group before, and we're looking at the trends.
Yes,
if you're an educator, if I'm teaching fifth grade, I need to know all the latest thing fifth graders are doing. Who's the singer they like now? Is it I don't even know who it is.
me
I
too.
I call it, what is it? What's the girl name? Katy Perry. Is she
Oh,
the, is she the thing the fifth grade people are into? Justin Bieber, is he cool now? Is he no longer cool? Like,
yeah.
we need to know all these things because it'll help inform our instruction. It'll help inform our context, right? If we are not, if you just look at yourself as a teacher, you say things like, well, this is what you need to know. I don't need to know that. These kids nowadays, and you don't get to know the wants, needs, and expectations of the students, right? You have to know, especially outside of third grade, second grade, you got to know the latest trends that these kids are into. That doesn't mean you have to like them. You gotta know them.
And
You
you
got to
mean
know the
that we
latest.
have to know their interests?
We need to know
Yes.
we need to know the video games they're playing.
Mm.
Again, that doesn't mean you have to play the video games, but you need
And
to know what the games are. You need to know the content of the game. You probably should play the video games, actually. So you know what they're playing, because what they're playing, um, what they're playing actually determines what they're playing actually determines how they think and how they react in your class.
yes,
So if you already know that, remember we said that we are planners. As educators, we're planners, right?
yes,
So we need to know what video games they're playing. We need to know that they're playing a game that may be violent, or we need to know they're playing a game that promotes suicide, or we need to know they're playing a game that is very narcissistic. We need to know that they're playing a game that praises being a bully. We need to know the singers they're listening to. What are their popular singers singing about? What is Katy Perry singing about? Right? What is, I don't know, the latest singers, right? We need to know the wrestlers that they watch now. What are the themes that they're watching wrestling on TV?
soccer player, yes.
The soccer players. What is that soccer player? What's on that soccer player's Instagram? What does that soccer player promote outside of?
This is also for the lower grades. We need to know.
Also, right, because we can use that as context to teach our lessons. We can use that as context to help inform the core competencies. Because if we know what Cristiano Ronaldo,
yes,
what he endorses, what his religion is, what he supports, what he talks about, right? That informs us on how we should teach our classes and what context and what comprehensible inputs. Remember, crashing comprehensible inputs. How we should outline those comprehensible inputs, because those comprehensible inputs are what they are what understandable, and they are and compelling. The
Compelling.
compelling part is knowing what Katy Perry is singing about. The compelling part is knowing what the latest video game is. The compelling part is knowing what Ronaldo's favorite color is or his favorite sports car, right? Because we can use those contexts to help create uh, lessons, inputs that are interesting to our learners. So the learner profile is extremely important. The wants, needs, and expectations of students are extremely important to help them acquire the skills that they need to solve the problems that they are facing or will face. Okay. So core competencies are the skills, but we all core competencies are the skills that allows the learner themselves to solve their own problems, right? However, and then the other question remains is how do we know what problems they have? Again, I always say that teachers have to be nosy. When I was teaching in high school, I would allow my students to eat with me during lunchtime. They would come, some students would come to my class and remember, I had high school kids, so they were older. And during their lunch period, they would come, if I didn't have a class while they had lunch, they would come and sit in my class and eat. And I wouldn't say anything, but I would just be what we call ear hustling.
Okay. They want to know what are they talking about.
I want to know. And sometimes, they're like, you're so nosy. Yeah, I'm nosy. Go ahead, keep on talking.
Yeah.
Because they will spill the beans, right? And some things are critical information that I need to tell mommy and daddy about, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time, I'm learning what their interests are. So when I give them the lesson the next week, I can insert some of the things that they talked about at lunch, during lunch. I can pick a book, right? Because I taught English literature. I can pick a book that addresses some of the problems that they talked about during lunch.
Yes,
So then, instead of picking a book that they have no interest in, that they can't connect with at all, right? I don't want to read this book. Well, this is a classic. You need to know this book. It's a classic. This book don't have any. I can't identify with this book. Versus they pick a book, and I tell them right from the beginning when I introduce the book to this book talks about this. Really? Well, I'm having that problem. I need to read that book. Right? Why do you think kids love? I've never met a kid, a young person, a 9th grader, a 10th grader, who didn't love Romeo and Juliet. When I came here, kids, I said, have you read Romeo? Oh yeah, I love Romeo and Juliet. Why? Because that is a basic love story on a very basic level that most 14 and 15-year-olds can identify with. An issue of, my father doesn't like my boyfriend. Well, I know my father's not going to like this guy. Well, I know my mother's not going to like this girl, right? Because he is from here, or he's from there, or he's a Shiite, or he's not Muslim, or he doesn't pray all the prayers, or his father is, his father drinks alcohol, right? But I love this boy. I love this boy, but I know my father ain't gonna let me be with him. So that story, really, they identify with it. Because every 14-year-old, every 15-year-old, number one, is like somebody of the opposite sex, right? They like somebody. Whether they admit it or not, there's somebody in the class or somebody in the neighborhood that they like, right? That's number one. Number two, at that age, they're always having friction with their parents. There's some type of friction with their parents. They don't let me go to the ball by myself. I can dress myself. I can dress myself. I want to wear this hairstyle. all 14 and 15-year-olds are having that problem with their parents.
Yes.
And that's why Romeo and Juliet is a universal story, because it helps them solve a problem that they can immediately identify with, right? It's it's what I call a teacher banger, right? You can't go wrong with Romeo and Juliet. And that's why Shakespeare is such a popular author over all these centuries, because most of his stories, his plays, identify with the common person, identify with most emotions that common people have. And when I say common, what I mean is everyday people, whether you're rich or poor, right? Anyone can identify with these things, right? So that's the importance of the learner profile versus and helping, making sure that we're getting context and applying comprehensible inputs that are understandable and compelling. Right? We lose sight of this. If we taught in context, it would be 90% of the battle. But a lot of times we don't. A lot of times what we do is, this is what's in the textbook, right? Now, we're in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia right now. And that textbook might be written from somebody who's sitting in Wyoming, right? Wyoming. Somebody a group of people in Wyoming wrote this textbook and shipped that book all the way over to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Do they understand the wants, needs, and expectations of the students in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? I think not.
Yes.
But then we use these textbooks, right? Somebody in Birmingham, in Birmingham in the UK wrote the textbook. And then this is what, we got to read this in the book. This is why textbooks should not be the core resource. It should only be supporting resources that helps learners gain skills based on this skills, not context. A lot of times we use the textbooks to help with context. The context should come from us, the educators, from what? Allowing, listening to students. Oh, they like this? Or that's the new favorite rapper, or that's the new favorite wrestler, or this is a new favorite singer, right? We use the textbooks only for what? We use the textbooks only for the help with skills. Skills based on what? The core competencies. Now, who identifies those core competencies? Well, the school, right? The school, it depends, the school system, the Ministry of Education, right? There's many people who can help identify. In a place like Saudi, where you have private schools and national schools, is a combination of a lot of people.
Yes, different.
The advantage in Saudi is that if you are an international school or a private school in Saudi, you have a lot of authority, because you can really say, these are the things that our students need. You can really say, these are the problems that we want to address. That's the advantage of being here in Saudi. Right? So core competencies are essential. But the problem is a lot of teachers, especially here in Saudi, they don't know what core competencies are, because a lot of teachers didn't go to a teaching college or haven't had that experience of having intense teacher training.
Okay.
So as an English teacher, so when we talk about core competencies in ESL, as a blanket, those core top competencies are what? Speaking, I'm talking ESL now.
ESL.
ESL. Speaking.
Skills, you mean the skills that the students need? Oh,
For ESL. Yeah, for ESL.
speaking,
Speaking.
writing,
Yeah. Speaking, listening,
listening, speaking, listening, writing.
reading,
Reading and writing, yes.
reading and writing. That's the core competencies for any basic ESL course. So if you into a learning institute, this should be their core competencies.
This is these are the skills.
Core competencies.
Um,
It makes sense, right? Because a learning institute is not it's not a school per se.
okay.
They have one task. Right? The task is to help teach a person, a learner, a specific language. Right? Whereas schools, and this is a big problem with schools. Many schools take on too much of responsibility.
Yeah.
Schools are not places where the student learns everything. Right? Now, I would admit that social emotional learning is maybe a core competency that schools take on. But schools need to really think about what problems they really want to address. The one of the big problems. That's our only job. One of the big problems. I think I talked to you about this before. Is isomorphism. Did we talk about isomorphism before? Isomorphism. It's a big problem that many schools face. Big problem that many schools face is isomorphism. Iso means same. Morphic means form, same form. Same form. And all that means is what happens is schools want to trend. They want to trend. They want to be on the latest trend. So school A does one thing that's a part of the trend. School B wants to be a part of the trend. School C wants to be a part of the trend. Everybody wants to be a part of the trend. Right? Whiteboards come out. All right. Oh, I got to get a whiteboard. I got to get a whiteboard. I got to get a whiteboard. We're starting to see that now with artificial intelligence, right? Artificial AI. Everybody wants to jump on AI. Now, I'm not saying that AI is not important. AI is extremely critical. However, if that's not a part of your core values or the problems that you want to face, which would be your vision and your core value, your ethos, then maybe you don't worry about AI as much. That makes sense? So if technology is not something that you're really that's not part of the problem that your school faces, then maybe you don't have to worry about AI as much. Maybe you're more focused on social emotional learning, or you're more focused on independence. Well, if your school is more focused on independence, self-determination, self-regulation, then AI will be very problematic for your school, because AI does the opposite. AI is making humans that are dependent on it, not independent away from it. So if you're a school that focuses on independence, then you have to really think about how you introduce AI, because that becomes problematic to your purpose, whether you even address it at all. And if you don't address it, you should confidently say, we're not addressing AI because that's not the problem that our school sets out to solve. In fact, we would argue that before learners are introduced to AI, that they become completely independent first.
Mm.
You know, so if you stand on your ethos, right? If you stand on your foundation, then when isomorphic topics come up, like AI, like tech, a lot of them are tech-based, social emotional. You hear safeguarding is a big one now. Safeguarding this, safeguarding that, everything's safeguarding. Again, I'm not saying that safeguarding is not important, it's essential. However, how much time am I going to dedicate in my instructional day to safeguarding? Make sense? So what right now you have schools that are dedicating so much time to safeguarding that they have lost focus on what the true mission is. Why? Because I would argue there's no true mission.
Yes.
They don't know. When you don't have a true mission, then you fall victim to isomorphism. And again, I love AI, but I don't. But if I have a school, I have to see how AI aligns with the problems that I'm trying to help my learners solve. That's the point I'm trying to make. So isomorphism is a huge obstacle in schools all around the world. I'll give you an example. Years ago, when tablets were introduced to the marketplace, the LA County School District purchased $1 billion worth of tablets. I think it was like $1 billion. I might be wrong with that number. It was a huge number. I'm going to say it was $1 billion.
Okay.
But I might be wrong. That number might be too big.
It's okay.
But it was a lot of money worth of tablets. Lots, right? This is like when tablets first came out in 2008 or whatever it is, a long time ago. And they end up not using the tablets for any instructional purpose. Why? They didn't have the software. They didn't have the support to maintain the tablets, right? Nobody in that school district with all the PhDs, with all the master's degrees, and all the educators in the LA County school, nobody said, hold on a second, how does this fit our vision? How does it fit the problems that we are looking to help our students solve? No, they said, oh, tablets, let's get tablets. And then a year later, 2 years later, the tablets were the kids were playing video games on them. Because they didn't have the support software. They didn't have the maintenance. They didn't have a plan.
How to use
They
it.
just wanted to jump into an isomorphic thing because they wanted to say every kid had a tablet. Right? It's the same thing that you see here. I have seen here that in advertisements, marketing, even at parent night, that first parent night. Oh, we have whiteboards. We're a great school because we have whiteboards. Or we're a great school because we have a swimming pool. Yay! Why? Because everybody else has a swimming pool. Or everyone else have whiteboards. Right? Instead of saying, oh, I noticed that you guys don't have whiteboards. Yes, we don't have whiteboards because the whiteboards don't fit the problems that we're trying to solve. Right? To say that confidently. We're trying to solve this problem. Once we look at in the future to figure out how whiteboards can help us solve this problem, then we may introduce them. But at this point in time, we haven't determined that these whiteboards or what this technology or this whatever it is haven't helped us solve or doesn't help us solve this problem. Okay. It's this when you're running a school and when you're running a classroom, you have to run it the same way a business person will run it. Right? Business people just don't go around buying things because everyone else has it. They do it because it helps promote the business in some real way that affects the bottom line, their profitability. That's what a good business owner does. And if a good business owner does, or if a business owner doesn't do that, then they're not a good business owner. Okay? So when you have core competencies, these allow you to avoid isomorphism.
Mm. Oh, okay.
All right. So again, we said in ESL, the core competencies. So we said that in ESL, the core competencies are listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
Reading and writing, yes.
So in ESL, again, I'm talking ESL only now. So let's start with teaching listening. The first thing that we do when we're teaching listening is we have to make sure that the listening prompt that they have is appropriate. So it's appropriate to the learners in the class. It meets their wants, needs, expectations. It is because you got to remember that listening prompt is going to be what? A comprehensible input. So it needs to be understandable and it needs to be compelling. That's the first thing we need to consider. All right. The
Okay.
next thing we need to consider is what skill, what sub skill will the learner get out of that prompt? Because it's supposed to be a listening. You're teaching listening. So what skill will they get out of that prompt? They're listening for what? Listening for the main idea, listening for details, listening for jest. Okay. So what are you going to use that? You can use it for all three, by the way. But what sub skill in teaching listening will they get out of that prompt? The other point that you want to consider is how long is the prompt? The length of the prompt. Is it 1 minute? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 30 seconds?
Mm.
Because you're going to play that prompt several times. The students are going to listen to that prompt several times. They might listen to it 5 to 8 times in that lesson. So a 20-minute listening prompt will probably be inappropriate. A 10-minute listening prompt is probably going to be inappropriate when you have enough time. So you should be when you are teaching listening, that means you have to be good at editing the prompt or finding prompts that are short or that meets the timeline that you need. What I do now to save time is I just create my own listening prompts. I'll go on to ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, give me a listening prompt that's 30 seconds. Give me a script for a listening prompt that's 30 seconds long. And then on my phone, I will record the prompt. 30 seconds long. Or sometimes you can find good ones. Now, in a listening prompt, since I talked about ChatGPT, make sure the voices are actually human voices. Because sometimes you get a listening prompt and it's that robotic voice. How are you, Sarah? I'm doing very well, John. It is a hot day today. I know. I needed to turn the AC on. No, they should be natural human voices. So if you're selecting a prompt from online or wherever you get it from, make sure the voices are natural and they're not robotic. Also, make sure they're not these AI voices, these that you hear on the on social media. You know, those AI voices that all have the same voice. So they should be natural human voices. Okay. All right. Step one. When teaching listening, you're going to tell the learners what they're going to listen to, what the listening prompt is about. All right, class, today, we're going to listen to a conversation between a doctor and a patient. All right. So that sets the context. So you definitely want to write the context, right? Remember, context is what? The situation, who understands?
Yes.
The context is the situation, who understands?
The learners.
The learner understands.
Yes. And we
So
should tell the learners about the context.
Yes. So today, class, today we're going to listen to a conversation between a doctor and a patient. Going to the doctor's office. Right?
We don't teach listening, you know.
Yeah, no, they don't. That's why you're taking the course.
I used والله in Jordan I was in a local school. يعني it's not a private school, governmental school. I used to actually to listen to a listening lessons, but now we are not teaching listening.
That's not good.
It's important, right? Especially for the
It's extremely important. It's one of the core competencies as an English teacher. Listen.
Yes, you are right. And we missed one skill. We're missing one skill for the student, for the learners. Yeah.
It's a big skill. It's a huge skill, being able to listen, what we call actively listen, active listening. It's a huge skill. And we see it because we see it in our society today because people are not very good listeners. Adults are not very good listeners.
Yes.
Kids are not very good listeners. You can say something 20 times and people at the end of your talk, people say, well, actually, the very question that you said 20 different times. Because people are not active listeners. And we haven't taught, for a long time, we haven't taught people to be active listeners. Right? Because we often entertain too much in listening. People only want to hear it if it's entertaining.
Yes.
So if it's not entertaining, a lot of times listeners don't want to listen to it, whether they're adults, right? Which feeds over to reading. It's you can put something in something and say, here, read this. This is everything you need to know. People won't read it. They'll come to you and say, what about this? Well, it was in the message I gave you. Huh? Well, I didn't read it. Well, why? Right? And then you say it to them and they walk away and then they call you and say, what did you say again?
Yes, it is.
I put it in the message and I just told you 20 minutes ago. Because we haven't taught people to be very active. And the technology has a lot to do with that too. All right, I can get it from Google. I can just Google it. ChatGPT. But what happens when it's not on Google? What happens when it's not on YouTube? Then it becomes problematic.
Yes.
All right. The next thing that we want to do is quicks.
What is it? Step 2?
Step 2.
What is
So
that?
we say class, today we're going to listen to a conversation between a doctor
And the
and his
patient.
patient.
Okay.
Okay.
Step 2.
And before we listen to it, you're going to hear some words. Some of you may know the words, others, these words may be. Some may know these words, others these words may be new to you. Come on. Let's not. Oh. Can you see my whiteboard?
Yes, I can see it.
And again, remember, this needs to be a part of your routines.
Oh, yeah.
This needs to be a part of your routine.
Yes.
So every time you do listening, they know that this is a part of your routine. They can expect it.
Yes.
It helps reduce their anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Because, I know teachers going to go through it step by step with me. All right,
Yes.
class. Today we're going to listen to a conversation between a doctor and a patient. Before we listen, let's go over some words that you might hear during the conversation. Or let's go over our QUICs. QUIC stands for key words in context.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, that means you need to know the listening. You need to have listened to the listening prompt yourself, right? And you need to determine. Now, this is the good thing about this is where textbooks come in, because textbooks will do this for you, right? Textbooks that have like a link, online textbooks, they tend to do these things for you. They tend to give you the vocabulary, and they front load the vocabulary and a listening opportunity. All right. But again, the problem becomes those that listening may not be appropriate for your learners. Right? The context may not be understandable or compelling for your learners. So that's why sometimes you even have to search for listening opportunities that are more appropriate for your learners, and then you have to figure out the QUICs yourself. Okay. So the QUICs are going to be words that are in context to the meaning of the listening prompt. So we said conversation between a doctor
and his patient.
and a patient. So all the QUICs should relate to that. So these are not just difficult words. Okay. So you're not including difficult words. You're including words that will help gain meaning from this context. So you may pick a word like
appointment, pain.
Appointment. Let's say that was in the prompt.
Yes.
You said pain. Maybe the word chronic, depending on the age. So for smaller kids, this wouldn't be a word, but for older kids, they might have the word chronic. Let's see. It may be a word like persistent. Like I'm getting persistent pain in my back. They might get a word like extremities. right? Um, um, schedule, come back and schedule an appointment with me. Okay. Medication, right? I, I think you get the point. These could be so. Excuse me.
Okay.
So now, if there was a difficult word, let's say that wasn't related to the doctor patient transaction, um, then you don't have to include difficult words. Okay. In fact, you could parking lot. You could create a parking lot on your board. So a part of your board, you have parking lot. And then when they listen to the prompt, right, they can say,
Read the
teacher,
word.
I didn't understand these other words that weren't a part of the quicks. Because all you're doing is including words that support the meaning
Mm.
of the text. Because ultimately, one of the things that we want them to get out of the text is the gist, GIST, the gist of the text. What was going on? What was overall? What was the overall meaning of the conversation, or what overall happened in the conversation? Okay, so that's what you're going to do. You're going to introduce quicks, and you're going to go over the definition of all these quicks. And you shouldn't have a lot of quicks, maybe 10, depending on relative to how long the listening passage is. So if the listening passage is 1 minute, maybe you only have 5, 6 words, 7 words. If it's 3 minutes, maybe you have a little bit more. All right.
The parking lot,
But
you mean that it's different from one student to another student, right?
what's that? The parking lot?
Yeah.
Yes. So the parking lot allows the students to say, I didn't understand this word.
The words they don't understand. It's related to each student. Oh,
It could be different for each student.
how can
But
I?
you would park out that word. So when they listen to the prompt, then you can address it. But remember, this is front loaded. The quicks is going to be front loaded before they listen to anything. So you're going to front load the quicks.
What,
Meaning, all right,
what do you
class,
mean?
today we're going to listen to a conversation between a doctor and a patient. You're going to hear some words that you may be familiar with or may not be familiar with, but these words help us understand what the conversation was about and what happened during the conversation, right? They listen to it the first time, all right, and then they can ask you, I didn't understand this word, I didn't understand that word. These will be words that are not a part of the quicks because you would have already gone over the meaning of these words before you even played the prompt. Okay? Make sense?
Yes. Then in the end, the teacher has to explain the words that they didn't get, right?
Right. You still have to explain the words they didn't get. Or you could turn that into a group activity where they find and look up the word themselves, or they guess. Because they can they can infer what the words mean. So if you don't want to give them the answer directly right away, you can say, well, what do you think the word meant? Based on the listening prompt, can you come up with a definition of that word based on what you heard?
Yeah.
To get them to think a little bit more critically. Or you can parking lot it until the end. So that's why we call it a parking lot. So you gain all the words and you let them listen to the words. Say, okay, I didn't understand the word with the word
None.
complex meaning.
Mm.
All right. Okay, great. I'm gonna write complex on the board, and I gain all the list because we're gonna replay this several times. And then at the end of the lesson, once we get all of the once we hit all the points that we want to hit in the lesson,
Mm.
those you know those skills that we want them to develop, right? Then we go to the parking lot at the end, all right, or the next class period. Hopefully, at the end, we can go to the parking lot and say, "Okay, now you guys had 5 words that you didn't understand. Now that you've heard the prompt 6, 7 times, can you come up with a definition now yourself?" Right? Because after hearing the prompt 5, 6, 7, 8 times, they should be able to come up with some type of definition for the word now.
Yes. Mm.
Because they've heard the word, this needs to be a part of your routine. They have heard the word in context.
Mm.
Okay. They've heard the words in context.
Context. Yes.
Again, their definition may not be perfect. It may
Mm.
not be perfect, but I assure you that they can come up, they can start to begin to come up with
Mm.
some type of definition relative to the listening prompt. What's the value of that? The value of that is independence,
Mm.
making them, this supports them reading in the future, and it builds confidence that they don't always need the teacher to give them the answer. That through a little persistence and through repetition, they can develop meaning themselves. Make sense?
Yes.
Or it all depends on how you want to do it, the grade level, your class. You might want to park a lot and just give them the meaning right then and there. It all depends on what you feel is valuable at that time. So you might want to just give it, teacher, I didn't understand what the word complex meant. Okay, let me give you the meaning. Or you could do, like I said earlier, hold off, write it down on the board, and then ask them at the end, once you finish all of your things, what now they think the meaning is, and give them the meaning afterwards if the meanings they came up with were completely off.
So do we need one period actually weekly for the listening skill to implement the listening skill, or what do you think?
It all depends on your unit. You have
Mm.
to make the determination how many listening activities you want. It depends on the needs of your students. Depends on your timeline, because you do have a timeline. It
Yes.
depends on what you have going on. But it all depends on what you have going on in your unit. How
Mm.
many segments of the unit that you have, right? Some units may have 4 parts to it, or 2 parts to it, or 3 parts to it. I would think maybe if you have 3 parts to the unit, you
Mm.
have at least 3 listening.
So really, طب what about the listening lesson? How can I relate it to the unit itself, the theme, the unit theme?
It's definitely going to be related to the unit. So a listening may be good right at the beginning of a unit or the beginning of each segment of a unit, because
Mm.
each beginning of the unit and each segment of the unit, there's new information that learners may not be familiar with.
Mm. Okay.
And the listening, excuse me,
Okay.
The listening will probably take the whole lesson,
Just a part of it.
not just a part of it. It may take the whole lesson. If you do it correctly, it may or may not take. It depends on how you do it. It depends on how you set it up. It could be a part of the lesson. It really depends on how you set it up. It could take the whole lesson. It could take a part of the lesson. It really depends how you set it up.
You know what's the
Remember, this is
problem?
your, this is your, this is your. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what's the problem, that we don't have the data for the listening lesson. We don't have يعني listening lesson related to each unit. So it will be like a load for the teacher to take out a listening lesson that suit the units or go with the level.
Yeah, that's why we shouldn't rely on textbooks, right? So
Yeah.
I agree. It's a
Okay.
load. It's a burden,
Yes, if we
but
need to implement the listening lesson, it will be a big burden on the teacher to find out a listening lesson that suits in the level of the student and related to the theme of the unit. That's why يعني we don't implement the listening lesson.
that's why I said in the beginning, you may have to create it yourself. Remember?
Mm,
You might have to create it yourself. Because you might not find anything online.
yeah.
You might not find anything on YouTube. It may be, and then the YouTube, you can't save the videos anymore, right? You can't save the videos anymore on YouTube. So now you gotta find a application that allows you to pull the videos off of YouTube, which is difficult. You gotta pay money.
Mm,
So so with but that doesn't take away from the fact that students need to have listening opportunities.
yes, you are right.
And
Yes.
the listening, don't get me wrong, the listening can be videos also. They could be videos
Yes, on YouTube, you mean? You can find out
on
like.
YouTube. Yeah. But the problem is you need to be able to edit those videos or stop those videos. Because if the video is 5 minutes long or 10 minutes long, that may be too long for what you need to do. So you need to be able to stop the video or figure out a way, right, to have the video where you could control the video.
How
Because
long?
if again, if it's a 7 minute video, it might be too long for
Can
what you're
you
trying to do.
prepare only 5 minutes to 7 minutes videos only?
No, what I'm saying is, remember what when we first introduced this, we said the
Mm,
videos can't be too long because
yes.
the videos, they're going to listen to the video several times. So if
Oh,
it's a 10-minute video, you can't play the video 7 times. It's too much time.
yes.
So you need to edit the video to be a couple seconds, a couple minutes tops, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. It all depends on what you're trying to get out of that lesson.
Mm,
So
okay.
you need to be able to edit the video.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, it's good now. I got it.
You need to be able to edit the video. Okay.
Yeah, not necessary to finish it
Yeah.
يعني one time. Yes.
All right. So again, is it a greater burden on you as the educator? Absolutely. I'm not going to say it's not. But
Yeah.
that's why I said you got to plan ahead. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to do a video." No, this has to be a greater planning at the beginning of the school year, or at least at the beginning of the unit. Or not even be at the beginning of the unit. In the middle of the unit that you're in, you need to be planning for the next unit.
Okay. Oh, I got
Right.
it.
So yes, is it time consuming? Is it more pressure on the teacher? Is it more work on the teacher? Absolutely yes. Uh, do textbooks, do the new textbooks have listening opportunities in them? Yes, they do. So you can use those that's in the textbook, especially if there's an online, there's typically most textbooks nowadays have an online component.
Yeah.
The only thing that I say is you got to make sure that is interesting, that it is understanding and compelling for the student. Like
Mm,
for instance, at the university, they're using National Geographic, and some of the inputs, my students cared nothing about. Some of the videos and the listening, they cared nothing about. I couldn't get them to be interested in. They didn't care about conservation.
Mm.
They didn't want to hear some Indian person talking about how they were saving gorillas or whatever. They cared less about it. It wasn't compelling to them. Was it understandable? I would argue that they didn't even understand why somebody would even be concerned with that, right? So that was a case where I would have to create a listening opportunity myself that they would be interested in. But still is along the context or the theme of the unit. All right. That's the difference between a teacher and an educator. A teacher just plays whatever is in the textbook or whatever the school gives them. The educator creates their own learning material.
Mm.
Okay?
Yes.
That's a huge difference. Right? A teacher just accepts any resource that the school gives them, any resource that the textbook gives them, regardless of whether it's appropriate for their students or not. An educator creates resources that are appropriate for their learners and identifies the resources that they are given to be good for their learners, beneficial for the learners or not, and then create resources that are beneficial. All right. Now, we haven't even gotten through all of the teaching and listening, right? So the first thing we said was you want to tell the learner what they're going to listen to or watch. Listen. The second thing is you're going to give them the keywords and context. Okay.
Give them?
You're going to give them the keywords and context.
Really? Like this? We write them on the board, like, for example?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh. And we're
So
gonna tell
remember,
them that you're gonna hear.
you're gonna identify most textbooks already do it for you for listening activities on the online version of the textbook. You would notice that there is vocabulary that's connected to the listening or the video. Okay. You give them that vocabulary first. That's the quicks. However, the problem that you will have is if you find that listening activity that the textbook offers is not interesting or understandable to your learners. That means you would have to find a listening activity or listening prompt that meets your learners' needs, whether it's on YouTube or you create it yourself. It may be more time efficient for you to create it yourself. But regardless, whether you use something that's in the textbook or something that you found on YouTube or something that you created yourself, you have to identify the keywords in context.
Okay.
And they have to be on the board or wherever you put them in your class, on the word wall, wherever you put them, you have to front load those keywords and context. Okay. And you're going to go through each meaning of each word before they even listen to the listening prompt. All right. Another point, and then the parking lot, just so we're clear on the parking lot.
This is step
The
3.
parking lot is only for words that after they listen, students said they didn't understand that word. And then you can decide how you want to handle the parking lot itself, whether you want to give them the answers immediately or you want them to continue listening to the prompt several more times until they're able to come up with some definition themselves.
Context, yes.
It all depends on what you find appropriate at that moment. Okay. Now,
Okay.
after you give them the quicks, all right, you're going to also preload questions. All right. You're
Okay.
going to give them preloaded questions. So, again, if you have the textbook, a lot of times the textbooks already have questions for the listening.
Mm.
If you create your own listening prompt or you find something on YouTube, you're going to have to create questions yourself. Okay.
Okay.
What you're going to do is you're going to, and it's not going to be a lot of questions. So if the listening prompt, let's say it's only 2 minutes, you may have 4 or 5 questions. Okay. But you're going to give them those questions first before they even listen. And you're going to put
Okay.
them in groups. You're going to say, with your buddy, or you can go back to this again. A, B, A, B. All right. All right. A and B's get together next to each other or whatever and talk about and predict what you think the answers may be. So they're going to predict the answers. Okay.
When they
Those
when they finish listening to the prompts, right?
no.
Before,
Before they listen.
so I have
Before
to
they
give them the
listen.
questions to get ready. Oh, okay.
This is all, what is this? Preparing them to listen.
Mm.
So what your work as a teacher is to prepare them to listen. So you're going to tell them what they're going to listen to.
Okay.
Right? You're going to give them the quicks.
Okay.
You're going to front load the quicks. You're going to front load. When I say front load, I mean before you give them the material. You're going to front load the questions. Right? The questions should be, those questions need to be meaningful. Why are you having them listening to the prompt? Are they, is this to get the gist of the meaning? Is it to get the main idea? Is it to get fine details? You have to determine why the learners, students are listening to the prompt. So you're not just going to give them random questions. Those questions need to be meaningful in some way. Listen for a main idea. Listen for the protagonist. Listen for the antagonist. Right?
Mm.
And these questions must be aligned with the unit and the other core competencies that you want them to get out of this unit. Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, listening ultimately supports reading, writing, thinking. Right?
Okay.
So the questions that you develop, they should be questions. So for instance, if a part of your unit, they're going over literary elements of a story, right? And you introduce the terms protagonist and antagonist to them, let's say in the unit before or even during this unit, you may ask them, who is the protagonist in the listening prompt? If in fact there is a protagonist. Who's the antagonist? Right? What is the setting? What was the climax?
Yeah.
Right? So, but these questions are relative to the what? To the core competencies that you want to get out of this list, or these skills, the sub skills that you want to get out of this larger core competency of listening, which supports other elements of the unit. So you're using this listening activity to support other core competencies and other sub skills that helps them solve problems. Make sense?
Yes.
Now, again, don't introduce something that they haven't learned before. All right. Or, yeah, don't introduce anything they haven't learned before, or they should support what you are learning in that unit. That means it's extremely important to know what the core competencies are and the sub skills that this unit is supposed to give to the learner. So what they're able to do with it, right? So if the core element or the essence of this unit is to learn literary skills, you're using the listening activity to help support those literary skills that they're learning, the setting, the protagonist, the antagonist, right? The climax. All right.
Okay.
Makes sense? So
Yes.
that means that's why planning is extremely important. So you got to think about these things way before the unit begins. I see your head scratching like, man, this is too much.
Yeah.
This is too much. And it is. It's a lot. A teacher just accept it's a lot.
Yeah.
But this is what makes you the difference between a teacher and an educator.
Yes.
And this is why some people say, I just rather be a teacher. Just give me what you want me to, and I'll just teach it. And I just rather be a teacher. Because it's much easier to be a teacher.
Yes. It's
It is much easier to be a teacher than an educator. Okay. So you're going to front load those questions. You're going to put them in groups, whether it's A, B, or bigger groups,
to
and
answer
they
the
can talk
question.
to each other about where they make predictions about the answers to the question. All right.
Right.
They're going to make predictions about the answers to the questions. Okay. They have the predictions down. Now you can see how this is long. You can see how this is going to take a long time. It could possibly take a long time. That's what I said. It could be the whole lesson, depending on what's going on. After they make the predictions, then you're going to take the first question and they're going to listen only for the first question. Only for the first question they're going to listen to. So you're going to say, okay, now look at question 1. I want you to listen for question 1 only. Right? Now they're very familiar with question 1 because they made predictions about question 1. And you're going to play the video, you're going to play the prompt, and you're going to play the prompt in its entirety, even after the answer is given. This is the reason why that prompt cannot be long. All right. And then after they get the answer, then they go back into their groups, or you can lead the instruction and determine, make sure they got the right answer. Make sense?
Yes, yes.
And you're going to do that for question 1, question 2, question 3, so on and so forth. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to stop there because that was 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot, right?
Mm.
So when we come back on Tuesday, we'll finish teaching listening. All right.
Teaching.
Uh,
On Tuesday we'll finish listening. You're
yeah, we're
teaching?
not finished.
Oh,
We're not
okay.
finished. I just don't want to go over my time.
So what
I don't
about
want to
the
go over.
assignment?
So the first thing you're gonna do is
Yeah.
you're gonna give me what you learned, and then we'll
Okay.
slide into finishing teaching listening.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll move on to teaching speaking after teaching listening.
Okay. Inshallah.
Inshallah. All right.
All
Did
right.
you learn something? Did you learn something today?
Yeah, a lot. طب can you tell me what the websites or you recommend to help the students, especially for the lower grades? Where can I find the listening lessons or easy things? ولا do I have to do they be aligned with the unit?
Listen, it all depends on it all. Look, the book number one, I would say look at the textbook, the online textbook. Okay. The online textbook may have good listening activities. It may. So search that first. Search the resources you have first. So the textbook may have, you have to determine, you as the teacher, as the educator rather,
Mm.
you have to determine whether it's good or bad. Okay. This needs to be a part of your routine. The United States is just a. Okay.
It's important to be aligned with the unit theme or topic, or just give them the listening skills as like this.
No, it needs to be, no, it must be aligned with the unit. Has to be. Has to be.
Be aligned with the unit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has to be aligned with the unit.
Okay, got it. Mhm.
Has to be, must. It's a because you gotta remember everything that we teach is in context. So it
Mm.
must be aligned with the unit. Everything that you do in a unit must be aligned with that unit. Every listening, every reading, every writing assignment,
Must be aligned
everything,
with the
every
unit.
piece of vocabulary,
Yes.
everything must be aligned with that unit.
Unit. Okay.
So why? So they can draw connections.
Mm.
You want to help them to draw connections with that theme.
Yes.
Why? So if they draw connections, they can demonstrate the skill that you want them to be able to demonstrate.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, got it.
Okay. Um, any other questions? So yeah, so look at the textbook first, the online version of the textbook. They may have good listening for that unit. Because the good thing about the textbook is going to give you the quicks already, and it's going to give you the questions already. So you don't have to devise them.
Mm.
Okay. And
Okay.
there's no good textbook that won't give you quicks and it won't give you questions that you can front load. None.
Mm.
All of them will give you that. All right. If they don't give you that, it's not a good textbook. All right. As one of the core elements of textbooks know to do this. All right.
Yes.
If you don't find that the video or the listening is good for your students, then search on YouTube.
YouTube.
Search on YouTube. That's going to probably be your best is YouTube, right? The problem with YouTube now is you can't strip the videos anymore. They blocked it. You used to be able to download the videos. You can't download YouTube videos anymore.
I didn't
Now there's special websites and things that you could try to do it, but YouTube has blocked many of those websites.
Mm-mm.
You can strip a video. Huh? What you say? YouTube has blocked many of those websites that allow you to strip videos. There are some websites still out there that allows you to strip YouTube videos. Now, if you find a video on another website, you can use those websites to strip videos off of that website, but YouTube has blocked many of those videos last time I checked. All right. And then the other videos that say they do it, a lot of them are scam or have malware. So you don't want to use those websites. So if you use a YouTube video, you may have to download it into your within YouTube and then play it within YouTube. And that means you won't have less ability to edit it. So you have to pause, stop, pause, stop, pause, stop.
Yes, it's
Right?
easy.
Yeah. Which is easy,
Mm.
right? But when you could download it yourself on your own device, then you could cut things out and merge things, and if you're good with video editing, right?
Yes.
Good, but decent with it. That's why I said the best thing to do may be just to create your own video,
Mm.
which is time consuming.
And the big burden on the teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it is once you do it one time, once you do it for 1 year, you got it for all the rest of the years. You just
Yes,
saved it.
of course, yeah.
So yeah, it may be painful 1 year, unless of course you get switched to a new grade. You got to do it.
Actually, I'm planning to do this, inshallah, in the summer vacation, inshallah. Yeah.
So again, and then again, there's other websites like Teachers Pay Teachers. There are other websites. And then also, this is why team teaching is important. If you have team teachings, you guys can create resources together,
Help each
right?
other. Oh.
Yeah. And then use ChatGPT too. ChatGPT can help you write the script at least.
Ah, okay.
All right. And then if you're willing to pay for the more the upgraded versions, there are ChatGPT or artificial intelligent websites that will create the video for you. That will just do it for you. Those videos they cost money though.
Oh, okay.
But they will create the video for you. You give it the keywords and context. You give it the questions. You say, this is what you want the script to be. You can even tell it to create a script. You can say, it must be aligned with third grade English. Like in ChatGPT, or not, I keep on saying ChatGPT, but AI will do everything for you.
Yes.
But those AIs tend to cost a little money. Right? And then you can adjust it the way you want. You can say, I want it 2 minutes long. I want it 30 seconds long. I want it to include these vocabulary words, yada, yada, yada. All right. There are many ways to do it. Or you could just go take your phone and do it yourself. Or take a video recorder and do it yourself. It's up to you. All right. Teacher created resources are the best. Why? Because it comes from you, and you can customize it for your individual students. Right? Any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right. So we'll see you on Tuesday, okay?
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Mr. Leonard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.